At the end of September 2022, I did the most amazing trip around North Vietnam, the Ha Giang Loop. But the thing is, I wasn't even meant to be in Vietnam. This is what happened. So let's rewind to the start of the year when I was looking at moving to a different country to start a new job. Situations changed and I decided that I was going to take out a month and go traveling. So I decided Bali. Let's go to Bali. So quit my job, current job, which I was planning on quitting anyway, but I quit the current job. And I ended up going traveling around Bali for a month. I then came home because I had some other commitments. I had weddings and birthdays and stuff like that. So I came home for a bit, but I was like, I'm not done. So I booked another flight out, back out to Bali. Now in that gap between, I ended up seeing that a content creator that I really liked was doing a content creator meetup course, how to make money from content, get to meet other content creators, all that sort of stuff. Now he was doing 3 of these meetups, one in Greece, one in Vietnam, and one in Bali. So naturally, I jumped on the Bali one. So we got closer to the time, and then the course actually got cancelled. Not enough people booked onto the Bali one, so he offered me to go on the Vietnam one instead. So I booked my flight to Vietnam, and then the Vietnam one got cancelled. So I now had a flight to Vietnam out of Bali, and absolutely no reason to be in Vietnam at all. So I got on the flight, I went to Ho Chi Minh, and I spent a few days exploring the city. And while I was there, I got horrendously ill. And then on top of that, I had a really bad bout of homesickness. I felt so homesick and I was so ill. I just didn't want to be there at all. To the point, and I didn't actually tell anyone this, I was looking at flying home. I still had months left of my travels, but I was looking at flying home because I was so homesick and just felt so bad. I ended up booking myself into a bit of a nicer hotel in Vietnam because I wanted some space. I wanted some luxury. I'd been in hostels for months. I just wanted to a bit of comfort, you know? And one day I was laying in bed in the hotel and I was scrolling through Instagram and I kept seeing this tour, this motorbike tour called the Ha Giang Loop. And it piqued my interest and I looked into it a bit and I realised it was in the north of Vietnam and I was like, this looks amazing. Now, as I say, at the same time, I was looking at flights home. So I decided, let me go up to Hanoi. Let me go do this trip. Let me do this trip from Hanoi, do the Ha Giang Loop. And if after that I still feel awful, I'll go back to Hanoi and I'll book a flight home from Hanoi. So a couple of days later, I flew from Ho Chi Minh up to Hanoi. Spent a few days in Hanoi exploring. And I love Hanoi. I've been there before. Lovely city. So I had a few days exploring it. And I started to feel a bit better. I started to come out of this little funk I was in. And I booked myself onto the tour. I then proceeded to have the most incredible 4 days ever. It was amazing. This tour was so much fun. I came out of my comfort zone more than I had before. I met some amazing people. We saw some absolutely insane views around Vietnam. I spent 4 days riding motorbikes around the northern Vietnamese countryside, and it was bliss. Now, this tour did exactly what I was hoping it would. It reignited the fire for travel in me. It made me not feel so homesick. I wasn't ill anymore. I started to enjoy it all again. But I had absolutely no plans for what I was going to do once I got back to Hanoi. On the second night of the tour, I met a couple of people and they started telling me about Laos. And Laos is a country that I'd heard a few people talk about, but I hadn't really considered it before. And they were telling me about this 3-week trip they had planned through Laos and how I should join them. And I was like, go on then. So I went back to Hanoi. I booked a flight to Laos for a couple of days later. And then I flew into Laos. I met up with these people and we ended up traveling Laos for the next 2 weeks sort of together. Like we moved on at our own pace, but we were taking the same route. I basically stole their route and I had the most amazing few weeks traveling around Laos. Now, while in Laos, a job opportunity came up, which was a job that I'd wanted for so long and didn't think it was going to be within my reach anymore due to circumstances. And it came up and I was offered it and life changed again. I ended up cutting my travels short. I was going to be traveling until the end of November, early December. Ended up coming home at the end of October, starting the job November 1st, and I've been in that since. And it's been an amazing 1.5 years, almost 2 years now. But the moral of the story is life changes so quickly. I started 2022 wanting to move to a different country to work. I ended up going traveling and then went on this insane travel trip where things were so out of my control in the most beautiful way, and I ended up having an amazing few months to then be offered a dream job and then come home to do that. Life's a roller coaster. Things happen so quickly and everything can change so quickly. And I feel like that's amplified when you travel and you notice it a lot more. But that's it. That's the story of how the Ha Giang Loop sort of changed my life, I guess.